Hi Cancer, Sun, Moon, Ascendant, or Venus. This is Dane, and I'm going to be doing your October 1st to the 15th, 2021 reading for you. Now I ask if this reading resonates with you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're interested in any of the cards that I'm using, they will be listed and linked in the description box below. Now before we begin this reading, let us clear the energy space, raising our own energy vibration and releasing any negativity. So take a nice deep breath in, exhaling whenever it feels comfortable for you. Releasing all negativity from the body like storm clouds. Letting yourself feel calm, centered, and at peace as we enter into this safe and loving space. Let's let the bowls sing as we see what the tarot has to say. Cancer, October 1st to the 15th, 2021, Cancer. Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly, angels. And spirit guides, angels. And spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly, angels. And spirit guides, angels. And spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly, angels. And spirit guides, angels. And spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly, angels. And spirit guides, angels. And spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly. At the bottom, we have our rooted self. The left-hand side, we have our inner self. The middle, our heart, our emotional self. The right-hand side, the public arena, the public self. Now, we're going to be doing something different with this reading. We're also going to be incorporating and encapsulating astrology. So we're going to go through that and see what everything has to say. So let's see what the cards have to say here. We have the star, which is Aquarius energy. If we have Aquarius within our natal chart, that's coming through very powerfully as a rooted energy for us. And we have justice, which is also Libra energy. So those two are coming through very powerfully if they're in our natal charts at our root as grounding energy. Then we have the 10 of air, the 10 of swords. We have the 8 of air. We're really in our own mind. There's something that we need to overcome and really need to learn how to kind of fly free from. There's something that has been holding us back. We are going to have a tendency during this time to just be too much in our own heads, overthink, overanalyze. So do be mindful of that. We have the 5 of wands. There's conflict. We're letting our inner conflict kind of take over, have a really powerful voice, a lot more powerful than it needs to be. But we can also really be wounded by external conflicts and arguing. So we do have to be mindful about that also, Cancer, during this time. Then we have the Empress. We're claiming our throne, our power. There's an intensity to us and a regalness to us that you would think the Empress wouldn't fall victim to petty squabblings. But she does, but everybody is affected. And so during this time, people might think, oh, wow, you're above this. Like, you're not even going to be, mindful or hurt by negative words being spoken about you. The fact of the matter is, of course you are, because you're human. So people are going to have one perception, and then there's going to be another reality. The King of Wands, fire sign energy, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. This comes through very powerfully in the public arena. So if we have fire sign energy within our natal chart or born on the cusp with Leo, that's coming through very powerfully right here in the public arena. And then we have the 10 of swords. Again, we get a lot in our own heads at this time. We have the 10 of air, the 10 of swords. They're the same thing, interchangeable. So we begin with that, or have this as a rooting power here, and have this in our inner selves, and have it as a rooting power in our public arena self. So we do have to be mindful of how we see ourselves boxed in. We also have to realize that this is the darkness before the dawn. This is the everything that we need to look at, everything that we need to understand before we come out and say, you know what, I'm stronger and better than I ever was before. And some people tried to silence me. I'm not going to be silenced. Some people tried to make me doubt myself or put me in a box or put me in a corner, and I'm not. So let's look at the energy we have to be mindful of during this time. Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. It's the Princess of Wands. Now, this can be that we can be a little hot-headed during this time. Absolutely. We can be also a little bit trusting. Kind of think of this as being a teenager, right? You are learning who to trust, who not to trust. You're being very reactionary towards things. Hormones can be, running high. So this is going to be a time where we have to take that into consideration. Now, we're also going to be drawn to people who are very impulsive, who are very kind of reactionary, and we're going to think, well, if they can do it, why can't I? And the fact of the matter is, they can't do it very well. Though we might only be seeing where they're excelling, we're also taking on a lot of that negativity in our inner selves, in our hearts. So that's going to be something where they might feel great because we're purifying that energy for them. We're taking it on ourselves and being like, oh, don't worry, I'll fix this, or I'll listen to you rant after you've had a hard day because that's just what I do. And you're taking it all internally. You're processing it. It's kind of like you're purifying the water without ever throwing away the filter that's getting all gummed up because you yourself are that filter. So do be mindful of that really quite seriously here, Cancer. And let's look at our chakra energy. Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly, angels. We have self-mastery. This is the solar plexus chakra. There is just a power to us, an alignment to us, an insight, an idea, and greatness to us coming forward if we align ourselves, if we listen to our gut, if we're taking care of our gut. This is going to also be a time where our stress goes to our stomachs. The foods that we eat affect our stomach, or the drinks that we drink affect our stomachs a lot more quickly than we would have thought possible. So here, just be mindful of that. Remember to listen to your gut instincts, to listen to what you desire during this time, how you're moving forward. Now, with the planetary alignments from October 1st, from the 1st to the 15th, we start off with October 1st. We have Mercury squared Pluto. So we have to remember during this time that this energy is going to make us go deeper into things than we really need to. So what we're going to see here is that we can really be fixated excuse me. We can really be fixated on justice. We can really, find ourselves kind of boxed into things with our minds, overthinking, overanalyzing. We have that tendency during this time. So yes, this is great for research. This is great for work. This is great for fine details. And with work, it means it's great for being able to kind of look at the nitty gritty, especially if what you're doing has to do with documents, really looking at everything, combing through everything with a fine-tooth comb. Now, if you need to have a bigger kind of presentation brought forward, this isn't going to be the energy that you want. You have to be very mindful to keep yourself from falling into the nitty-gritty details and becoming obsessed with them. Because we can always think during this time, especially starting off the month, with just being so hypercritical and hyper intense, that, until I get it perfect, I'm not going to put it out into the world. Until I get it perfect, I'm not going to share my ideas. Until I get it perfect, that's going to be what we say to ourselves, And we can even say that to other people, until you get it just right, don't share it, don't do anything with it. It's never going to be perfect. Perfect is always going to be something that's unobtainable. So let it be now. Let it be now, and don't fall down that rabbit hole. We can also do this really intensely with things like true crime, murder mysteries, really like gruesome murder mysteries, not the cozy ones, but the gruesome ones, horror films. We can really fall down that rabbit hole. That affects our energy. And this 1st of October, of course, sets us up for all of October. So we don't want to come to things with our energy so complex and so intense that we lose the bigger picture of what we're looking for this time. Now, on the 2nd of October, we have Venus sextile Pluto. There we go. We become very passionate about everything that we love, from hobbies to people. Our energy is running high. We're passionate. We're intense. And, it really lets us shine. We really do well when our love is centered and when our love is deep. We're going to have very deep feelings. We do tend to take a lot more on during this time. Keep coming back to the 5 of Wands, but also the 8 of Air, the 8 of Swords. We're trapped in there. The 10 of Swords is having us look at everything that made us feel like I can't, becoming the sustainable power for the fact that I can. the fact that I'm different, the fact that I don't fit in with everybody else, the fact that, I stand out even when I try to blend in. This is what we have to say to ourselves, this is me, this is who I get to be. And so embracing this with power and with dignity becomes everything. Becoming one of those people that we're passionate about, especially on the 2nd of October, being ourselves, that love coming to ourselves. This would be a great time for self-pampering. This would be a great time to, look in the mirror and say, I love you, and actually mean it. Not, I love you if you, get this bonus. I love you if you make this sale. I love you if you, push a little bit harder, do a little bit more. No, it's like, I love you now. Actually, the 2nd of October would be a great time for date night, or a great time just to, do something that you really love, do something that makes you feel happy. If you're, single, have a night just where you embrace what you love, what you like, and be able to be with you. And even if you're in a relationship, do that anyway. Be like, you know what, this is about me right now, and let it shine. On the 3rd of October, we have Mercury trine Jupiter, there we go. And this brings a wider point of view. This also makes us fun and adventurous, and saying, why not? Why not look at everything? Why not, see everything from different angles? We also start to plan for our future in a really helpful way, in a way that kind of smooths out all the bumps, which is really nice. Now, on the 6th of October, we have the new moon in Libra, which brings new beginnings, and there will be a separate video done on this new moon. But we also have Pluto going direct. Now, Pluto going direct, if we're sensitive to, the planetary alignments, or if we're just sensitive to energy in general, this is going to hit hard. This day, we can feel things very intensely. Those of us, again, who are more sensitive, we can feel this energy of Pluto going direct for days, if not weeks to come. Pluto coming out of retrograde has us leaving behind this fear of letting things go. And we can see that here with the 10 of air. The fear of letting things go, even with the 8 of air, the 8 of swords. This feeling of having to think about it, having to, obsess over it, having to make everything perfect. We're starting to say, you know what, no, I can't do this to myself anymore. And this energy is just wearing me down. With Pluto going direct, we have this strong feeling of ambition and focus, and this need to empower ourselves. We have to make sure that this doesn't become a new kind of vessel for our controlling energy, or for the controlling energy of Pluto when it is retrograde coming forward. And because we're going to be so used to that energy, we can think, oh, well, now this is what I'm going to put all my time and attention to. No, it's like, okay, how do I empower myself? How do I move forward? How do I embrace what I love, what I need, what I desire within my life? And when we do this, we start challenging ourselves. We start stepping out of our comfort zone. We start doing things that if we really thought about it, it would make us terrified. Because there's a high probability of fail, right? There's a high probability of things not going the way that we want them to, and things not being exactly perfect. And that's okay. We need to step into that energy and say, you know what, if I make a fool out of myself, so what if I make a fool out of myself? At least I tried. At least I took those steps forward. Brene Brown says, if you're not in the arena with me, why do you get to criticize me? Why do your words get to tear me apart? And that's going to be the energy that we need to start to embrace. On the 7th of October, Venus moves into Sagittarius energy. This brings us a live and let live attitude, which is fantastic, but it also brings us a don't tell me what to do attitude. And so if we can take the day off, if we can, and I don't know if it's a weekend or a weekday, but if we can take this time to just kind of step back, to embrace an adventure, because we need that on the 7th of October, but also just make sure that we're not in a place where we can get, our tempers can be a little bit hot, because they can be. We can get a little bit testy, because we don't want to be told what to do. We want to be able to express, we want to be able to do, we want to be able to become the way that we want to. Now, on the 8th of October, the sun is going to be conjunct Mars, which brings us into this hero energy, but again, it can bring a bit of a hot temper. So we do have to be mindful of that, but we can feel on top of the world on the 8th of October. On the 9th of October, Venus meets with the moon in Scorpio. This opens up our third eye chakra. This brings us this intense insight and awareness, this intense sense of awakening, this intense sense of, oh my gosh, like that's what I've been missing. That's what I've been moving towards. And this is called the great creativity. And this is a time where we really need to utilize that, especially as a creative water sign energy. We need to utilize the great creativity. It also is a time on the 9th of October where Mercury is conjunct Mars. Now, this makes us quick-minded, quick-witted, have fantastic reflexes, but we can also be sharp-tongued, which sometimes can be excellent because it goes with our quick wit, our quick wit, there we go, but sometimes it can come off a bit caustic. So do be mindful of that. We tend to be more direct. We're not going to sugarcoat anything during this time. We want to get things to the point. Now, this can be in a bit of a contrast with the third eye and the gate of creativity that is opening. Excuse me. That is opening for us. So we have to find that balance, because we might find ourselves not sugarcoating, getting right to the point and thinking, why, this is exactly what that person needs to hear. Other people will do it to us because this is an opening for everybody. The gate of creativity is opening for everybody, and also Mercury is conjunct Mars for everybody. And so they're not going to be sugarcoating. They're going to get right to the point, and that could be a little bit wounding for us. So we have to be a little bit cautious on the 9th of October, because we're going to hear some really valuable things. This is a time where information will be coming to us really intensely, but it's not always going to be packaged in the way that we want to hear it, in the way that we want to see it. On the 10th of October, Saturn becomes direct. We become more focused, more responsible, and we get the job done. So this is a time where we can really see that we organize things, we move things forward. We have this energy of, yes, I can. We are much more down to earth. We move into an awareness, and into an awareness of our limitations, into an awareness of what we excel at and what we don't excel at. And you would think that this would be bad, or you could get really down, sometimes if we think about, what we don't excel at. But this is going to be a time where it's like, okay, that's not my strength, but this is. And so I can have help in this arena, or I'm going to have somebody look over this, or maybe even somebody else has to be in charge of this. It's not going to be me, because it's not my skill, but this is where I excel. This is what I'm going to shine at. And really be open and honest with ourselves during this time really starts to move us to success, really starts to let us shine in a brilliant way. We start to become more focused on our long-term goals, and we see things really clearly and practically. On the 3rd of October, Venus is sextile Saturn. This is a time for being around family and friends and really embracing what we love. Now, if that's not family and friends, it's just being able to embrace that which we love. We may be a little bit self-sacrificing during this time. So we have to be mindful of this, because we're going to be sacrificing, but for long-term goals. And as we're sacrificing for long-term goals, we can find ourselves, sitting there and saying, oh, but this will pay out in the end. We have to make sure that it actually pays out. So we could be sacrificing for other people. We could be sacrificing for our work. We have to make sure that we're not putting all our eggs in one basket, or that we don't think something that the other person isn't even aware of, because we'll sacrifice something really great for them or do something really big, but we have to make sure that we're doing it for the right reasons. And if we're, perfectly fine with that person, not even seeing it, not even acknowledging it, then that's okay. But we have to be mindful, because on the 3rd of October, we can be hurt. We can be, because we can sit there and say, well, I did this for you. What the heck? On the 15th of October, the sun is going to be trine Jupiter. This makes us lucky and generous and happy, and is a great way to end, this 15-day period. It can bring us an intense spirituality and a sense for this loving, sharing knowledge that we want to just kind of, have this greater understanding with everyone. What we're going to find is that we can be a little bit too generous to ourselves, a little bit too self-indulgent, but also a little bit too generous with other people. So do be mindful with this. The star shines within us at our root. There's a sense of beauty. There's a sense of wishes being seen and desires being heard. We're really starting to open up to how we want to move forward, to what we desire within our lives, to this shining, beautiful light that is such an intrinsic part of us during this time. This is the wish for what we truly need, not necessarily what we cross our fingers for and wish up at the heavens too. This is what divinity sees we need within our soul, within ourselves. And it can actually be a little bit scary when we start to get what our soul needs, when we start to align ourselves in a way that brings forward success, brings forward, prosperity, brings forward abundance, lets us shine. Are we ready to shine like stars? It brings us to a place of justice. Now, justice is always a bit tricky, because we tend to think of justice as, white page, black print, the letter of the law. But that's not necessarily it when it comes for the individual. When it comes to the individual person, it's discernment. What energy do I need around me? What energy do I not need any more of? What is the complexity here? What is the intensity here? What do I desire, and why do I desire it? So when we start to get more of what we need than what we want, when we start to see this balance of the spiritual and the practical coming together on our earthly plane, we start to then be called to being more in alignment with our energy, with our desires, with our hopes, with our dreams, with our wishes, with what we need and what we love within ourselves. We start to become just, because if we're not just with ourselves, we almost feel as if we're invisible. And you know what, Cancer? We're tired of feeling as if we're invisible. We need to be seen, we need to be heard. It moves us to the 10 of air, the 10 of swords. Now, the 10 of swords in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck is a person laid flat on the ground with 10 swords stuck into them. It's overkill. We can tend to harp on things during this time. We can tend to look at things and say, why did I do this? Why couldn't I have done better? Why did I, have to learn these lessons? Why did I have to, X, Y, Z? And what Spirit is saying here is that these lessons become weapons for our future. We learn what scars are. We learn what hurt and pain and disappointment and sometimes even horror is. But we learn it not so that it can defeat us, but that so we can rise stronger, so that we can rise wiser, better, more determined, more focused than ever before. And we become armed with each sword. Each sword becomes the weapon that we use. Each sword becomes the power that we hold. Each sword guides us forward. So it can be 10 years of lessons. 10 years, and each year one thing sticks out in our mind is precisely the thing that wounded us and scarred us and made us think we couldn't. And now we're starting to say, yes, I can. Yes, I can. This is the darkness before the dawn. This is the place where we realize I'm not down and out. I'm not beaten down. I get to embrace my voice. I get to fly to new beginnings. I get to soar through the air. And it brings us to the 8 of air. It brings us to the eagle soaring. And the thing about the eagle soaring is that the eagle can fly higher than any other bird. And it can see so clearly. And so when we see this, and in the 8 of swords, in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, it is a person surrounded by 8 swords, blindfolded, folded, and bound. They're not flying anywhere. They think that they're trapped, and they're not. The 8 of swords, they can walk through. They can get away from. But in their mind, this is it. It is a cage beyond measure, with no release, and no light, and no beauty. And what Spirit is saying here is that there is a release. There is a beauty, there is a way to fly forward and to become more than we imagined, more than we desired, more of who we are and what we want and where we need to be within our lives. And as we embrace this, we start to look at our hearts and say, okay, what is the chaotic energy that I hold? What is it that holds me back, that makes me doubt? Are there people in my life that play off of this chaotic energy, that I can feel myself slipping? I can feel that when I step into work or when I step into this place, it's just like, ugh, I don't want to be here. Now, can we not play the office politics game and do our work and do well? Yes, hopefully we can. Do we want to? Do we want to be in a place where we might feel uncomfortable? No, probably not. Nobody does. But what we're going to see here is we're going to see where we stand and why we stand there. What is the chaos around us? Now, a lot of people describe the 5 of Wands as, children's play gotten out of hand. Where you start off playing and it's all a good time, and then things start to get mean. Now, that could be what's happening to us, and we can sit there and internalize it and say, well, how did it go wrong? How did things fall apart? Why does it hurt now? And so with the 5 of Wands, it's looking at things and saying, am I bringing myself back to that energy of this is supposed to hurt? This is supposed to be scarring. This is supposed to keep me small and tethered down. Because in our hearts, we're supposed to be claiming a throne we never even knew we had. We forgot that this was powerful. We forgot that we were powerful. And as we claim this throne, we claim our voice. We claim our determination, our focus, our insight, our ideas. We open up doors and say, but this is me. And as we say, this is me, it's like, this is my powerful way forward. This is my harmonizing aspect of myself. We need to embrace the sacred feminine when it comes to embracing our hearts. And what that means is not only the gentler side of life, but also the forceful, powerful side. So you might say, okay, what's the difference between the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine? Well, one nurtures and creates. The other also nurtures and creates, but one's a little bit stricter. But we have to also remember the power of the sacred feminine doesn't play around. The power of the sacred feminine is our earthquakes and, tornadoes and blizzards and hurricanes. None of those things are small. None of those things, we can easily turn away from and say, oh, it doesn't bother me. So there's a fierceness to us that Cancer is very important that we look at, that we embrace within ourselves. Some of us need to meditate on the storm within and on letting that storm out, not in anger, not in, spitefulness or hurtfulness, but in the sense of I am powerful. And there is a tempest within me that gets to be focused, that gets to be, heard, that gets to be seen. And let it out through the gateway of creativity on the 9th of October, where we find ourselves quick-witted and, able to create. Let it go. Let it go then. And let yourself say and do what you need to do in order to create what you want. It brings us to the King of Wands. In the public arena, we are focused, we take action, we are determined, we're embracing a sacred masculine energy, which is a little bit more, I want to say calloused. And I don't mean that in a bad way at all. But I mean it in the way that instead of saying, instead of thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to hurt this person's feelings and that's going to hurt that person's feelings and I can't do this, I can't do that. It's like, no, this needs to get done. It needs to get done now. This is how it needs to get done. And this is how we're going to do it. Period. End of discussion. It's taking the emotional nurturing aspect maybe out of it and saying this is the practical aspect. These are the stones that need to be laid down. This is how it needs to be built. And this is how we're going to do it. There becomes this fire to us, and there is this fire to us that gets to burn bright. There's a sense of transformation. There's a sense of greater insight, greater ideas, letting it come forward. In the public arena, we might find ourselves being a little bit more of a hard ass, a little bit more of a things need to be like this. Things need to move forward like that. I need to embrace, this way and that way of being, and things need to be in order. There's just going to be that sense of growing something powerfully because you're going to take care of it, because you know the responsibilities of it, because this is what needs to be done. And with the Ten of Swords here is completion. It's the completion of the darkness, of the hurt, of all the lessons that we have learned, to be able to come out of this cycle, to be able to embrace our minds and our desires, and to stand firm within our thoughts and within ourselves. It moves us to our subconscious energy to be mindful of. And that's the Princess of Cups. It's ourselves, again, coming through kind of like that teenager energy. Maybe feeling things too intensely, internalizing things too often. We're going to also be very drawn to people who just have this intensity of feeling to them that we can find draining and overwhelming. So do be mindful of that. Our subconscious chakra energy is holistic health, which is one of my favorite cards. This is the root chakra. At the root of us is the desire and the need to take care of ourselves. We need to get in alignment with who we are, with what we want, with what we love, with what we desire from our world, and how we're moving forward. The holistic health here is being our holistic selves, being healthy in the way that we're expressing who we truly are, what we truly desire, our laughter, our joy, our sorrow, our pain. It's taking care of ourselves with the food that we eat, with, maybe natural remedies, homeopathy, acupuncture, Vedic medicine, ancient Indian medicine, and, all this stuff where we find ourselves connecting once again with the earth. That's really important, and that's really beautiful. Grounding ourselves, barefoot shoes, walking outside barefoot, connecting with the earth, connecting with healing energy. That really is important. A lot of times we tend to think that we're separate. We don't need to get out into the sun. We don't need to heal ourselves. We don't need anything like that. We can just keep going and pushing and staying inside and working all the time. But we need to heal, and we need to do so holistically, naturally, and be able to embrace our roots, what we desire, and that connection with the earth again. It brings us to our subconscious rooted self, and that's the world. The world is opening to us. There's a sense of a new season coming in. There's a sense of new power coming forward. There's a sense of there being more to life than we had noticed, because we're stepping into the world with confidence and a surety in what we want and what we desire, with justice for ourselves, but also with our wishes coming forward, what our soul needs guiding us. And we take our place within the world. It doesn't mean that our place never changes, but it means that we say, this is where I stand, and this is what I love, and this is who I am. And I do so with pride and dignity and determination of self and beauty of soul. It then moves us to our subconscious inner self. And that's the world. And that makes perfect sense. We have the mind overpowering, and the world here is equivalent to the Fool in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And she's leaving behind a world on fire. She's leaving behind a mess and destruction and saying, it's time. Where I once was won't fit me anymore. And that's so profoundly us, Cancer, during this time. Where we once were, what we once inhabited, what we once thought would be our lives, it doesn't fit us anymore. And we might be really confused. Like, okay, well, where do I stand now? And what is it that I become? And where is it that this journey will lead me? Well, nobody quite knows. But the first step and the second step and the third step really start to get us somewhere powerful, really start to lead us forward in a way that we hadn't anticipated. So put on good sturdy shoes and begin the journey. It brings us then, and was that not the bottom card? And so then the bottom card, the subconscious message, wasn't just here with the world, with the Fool. It's with the Five of Water. Change your mind and change your life. We can see everything as terrible, or we could see that there is a new future coming forward, and that beauty transforms, and we transform within that beauty. We transform within our world. Everything can be doom and gloom, or there can be a new horizon that gets to be embraced. It moves us to our subconscious emotional self, and that's the King of Swords, air sign energy, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Cutting through doubts and fears, knowing what we desire, our hearts and our minds coming together to say, this is me. This is where I need to be. This is where I want to be. This is what I desire from my life. And nothing and no one is going to hold me back. We have this very sacred masculine energy here with the King of Wands and the King of Swords. There's this determined focus to us that says, this is what I want. This is what I need. This is who I am. And nothing and no one gets to take it from us. This is also finding the power of our voice, stating what we want to ourselves even. We might be a little bit shy to say that, to say what we truly want from our lives, to claim what we desire, and to hold that as our truth, and not get caught up in the frustration and the, wants and needs of everybody else. It brings us then, or even the inadequacy of thinking, but I'm not good enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not powerful enough. I'm not enough to take on that role. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Embrace it. It then moves us to our subconscious, public arena self. And, Spirit is saying, okay, so if we aren't trained for something, if we don't know enough, this is a time where we're not held back by those limitations. Learn, become, step into the role. If we know that we need to understand more, if we need to learn more, if we need to, put things in better alignment to be able to take on what it is that we're being called to step into, this is a time to do it. This is a time to get these things in this alignment. Now, our subconscious inner self is the Queen of Pentacles. Prosperity and success and the sacred feminine energy coming forward. We have it magnified here with the Empress, as high and powerful as it can possibly come. And then we have it with the Queen of Pentacles, which is growth, prosperity, success, bounty, nurturing something that is powerful and beautiful and intensely and unapologetically us. What is it that we're nurturing within ourselves and our souls? What is it that we're breaking down the barrier for? What is it that we desire? What is it that we want? What is it that we need? The Queen of Pentacles is seen as successful. Whether we see ourselves as successful or not, that's nobody's business but ours. The fact of the matter is that people see us as successful, that we're moving towards this prosperity, this determination, this success, and this greatness of being, soul, and desire. Look at what you're nurturing. Look at what you're feeding into your soul, into yourself. Look at what becomes success. Because what you focus on is what you're going to get during this time, Cancer. And whether it be the growth of prosperity and, ambition and desire, or the sense that I can't do this and I'm overwhelmed and I'm too afraid, whichever pot we are feeding into, whichever plant we are feeding and taking care of and nourishing and watering and giving sunlight to, that's the one that will grow. Make sure that you are feeding your own success, Cancer, especially during this time. All right. I hope this reading has resonated with you. I wish you nothing but light, love, peace, and happiness. May harmony always be with you. I'm sending loving, healing energy to each and every one of you. I love you all, and stay safe. Let's end this reading with a meditation, a clearing away of negative energy, a raising of our positive energy as we embrace the power and the beauty of this time. So take a nice deep breath in, exhaling whenever it feels comfortable for you. May you move forward in peace and in harmony, Cancer.